What's up, Warriors fans, and welcome back to Warriors Latest. As always, I am your host, Max Arizin. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you enjoyed the show today, as I do post new Warriors videos daily, as well as I really appreciate it, as it does help out the show, as well as myself, as we continue to grow episode after episode. Now, after the win versus the Grizzlies, I gotta say, this was impressive on multiple fronts. One, not only because the Warriors could pretty much controlled the game from start to finish, but because of who else contributed to the win in their own unique ways. And I'm not talking specifically about Steph, Jimmy, or Draymond, but specifically about Jonathan Kuminga and Potts. Now, in previous episodes, I talked about Kuminga and his need to really show out, not only in scoring, but in other statistical categories as well. And the same thing goes for Potts, because there are two guys that are going to be the future of this franchise, and they need to do a lot. But across the board, the Warriors were able to do a lot against the Grizzlies. I'm looking at this stat line, and we saw Jaren Jackson score 16. We saw John Moran have 23. Who is it? John Landale have 17. But they all had a plus minus in the negatives. So that was a big help. But looking at ours, like a lot of these guys our guys were extremely efficient. Jimmy was 6 for 8. Kuminga was 9 for 14. Steph was 5 for 11, 4 for 9 from 3, which is what you expect. And Pods was 8 for 14. I like these numbers. And while the one thing I didn't like was the fact that Quentin Post didn't get nearly as many minutes as I believe he should have, he still put it up there, went 1 for 4, but did miss all of his threes. So I'm not too happy about that. But I like that he's still getting minutes. He deserves to get more minutes as the season goes along, because we're going to face teams with real 7-footers. Yes, we didn't have to face Zach Edey against the likes of the Grizzlies, but Jaren Jackson, he showed up. Even though he didn't have a good plus minus, he did show up and cause problems for the Dubs. Now, the Warriors were able to show up and stop this, but what if, say next month, back to back, or against those back to back games we have, and I mean back to back, like Wednesday and Friday games we have against the Spurs. Like, that's going to be concerning, because the Spurs right now, they're the top seed in the West. And yes, it is early, but this has been a long time coming. They've had a great roster from top to bottom, with Wemby, Steph Castle. They now have Dylan Harper. They got Keldon Johnson. They've got Devin Vassell. They've got Jeremy Sochan. They've got a lot of good players. And when we're going up against the likes of them, it's going to be very tough to beat. And I'm excited and concerned about how this team's going to play against them, giving Quentin Post so few minutes. Now, in games like these, when you have full control, it gives you the opportunity to let guys from your bench gain experience in not crunch time moments, but learning to keep the lead moments. And when you're learning to keep the lead, you have to be effective and make sure that you don't make simple mistakes. And I thought this could have been a great opportunity for Quentin Post to learn not to make those mistakes. But you know what? They decided to keep their lineup with Draymond as the center, and since Al Horford isn't playing back, or is only playing in the first half of back-to-backs, and now we have the Clippers next, right after the Grizzlies today, it's like, okay, I understand, but give Quentin Post those minutes, because come when we face like the likes of Denver more often, or the likes of the Timberwolves more often, or even the Spurs in that back-to-back in November, Al Horford, as good as he isn't going to be able to go after it against the likes of Wemby as he could some other centers, and it's going to require a lot of the smaller guys to be more aggressive. And when you're going up against a team like the Spurs, who have young guys who are just as aggressive, I am a little worried. And then on top of that, you got to play the Thunder, who are just as big, as well as the Rockets. So it's just some food for thought. But good win against the Grizz. They should have played Quentin Post more. It would have been nice to see how he reacted in this situation. Yes, it was, a 13-point game that we won, or 13 points we won by, but 13 minutes, we could have given him a little more to play with. Yeah, he had 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Oh, and 2 blocks. That's a big one. But we need a little more. Let him grow, because a lot can happen when you let a player like that grow, especially in these kinds of situations where you're not really running out the clock. You're just trying to keep the momentum going. So it would have been nice to see Quentin Post get out there, but a win is a win is a win, and I'll take it. We're 3-1 going up against the Clippers. But as I said before, the real standouts of the game were Kuminga and Pods. Now, looking at the stat line, I got to admit, I am impressed. Jonathan Kuminga had 25 to go along with 10 rebounds and 4 assists. 3 turnovers, but I could work with that. And let's see. Steal. He didn't have a steal, so not the best, but I'll still take it. That's a big step forward for what we're looking for him. Now, for 3, he was still 0 for 2, still dealing in his mid-range game, which may still be a problem with him and Jimmy on the floor, like as the season progresses. I'd like to see him take some more threes, get that confidence going, but he wasn't the only guy that impressed tonight. With Pods, that's where some real impressive things happened, because he was 8 for 14 from the field, 5 for 7 from 3, 50% from the line. I'm okay with that. And to go along with that, he had 4 rebounds and 6 assists. Those 6 assists, now those are essential, because to go along with those 23 points, you got 6 assists. Now that's Pods' biggest thing. He's a big rebounding small guard, but he hasn't really been able to distribute. So this 6 assist game is a real step in the right direction for him. He wants to replace Steph Curry one day when Steph retires. He needs to have more games like this on a consistent basis. He has games like this. Okay, maybe you can be that guy one day when Steph calls it a career. But we need to see more consistency from him in the long term. Now, should he do this versus the Clippers today? All right, we've got something to talk about. Maybe he does deserve to be in the starting lineup more often than not next to Steph. Now, I believe that's still going to be a problem come like playoff time when you have 2 small guards in your backcourt. Not something I generally approve of, because they're just going to be very easy to guard, especially when you're going up against a team like the Rockets, like the Thunder, who have that length in their backcourt with Shea, Lou Dortz, and guys like that. And you think on top of that, with the Rockets, they have Kevin Durant playing the 2 and Amen Thompson playing the 1. Amen Thompson is 6'9". Kevin Durant is 6'11". That's not going to bode well for us long term. So we got to figure out, how do we integrate Pods to the point where he becomes an asset but not become a backcourt mate of Steph Curry. So you got to think about that more. Warriors need to do something with that, but at least they're still showing out and proving that they belong in the Warriors rotation, and they're going to be assets moving forward as the Dubs chase this championship. Now, with the Clippers, again, it is one of those games that is a test, because yes, Horford's going to be back, but this is a fully loaded roster. Now, looking at the injury report for the Clippers, let's see. I'm looking at it. All right, Bradley Beal's out. Kobe Sanders is out, who killed us last time, and Jordan Miller. You know what that means? That means Kawhi's going to be in there. James Harden's going to be in there. Chris Paul's going to be in there. Brook Lopez is going to be in there. John Collins, Ivan Zubac, Bogdan Bogdanovic. All those guys are just going to be thrown at the Warriors from start to finish. And based on the way the team has played against the Clippers these last few times, I am a little concerned, but I do have the confidence that they can beat them. This team is very deep and very aggressive. They've shown that they have the ability to come back even against those better teams. Look at that game against the Nuggets when they were down, forced it into overtime, and then pulled it out in overtime. But I do need to see some steps forward from guys like Quentin Post. I need to see them capitalize on the opportunity and get those extra minutes. In this game, I need to see Quentin Post and Al Horford split time, 20 minutes, or you know what? I want to see them have 24 minutes each, because it's going to require that kind of a rotation to beat such a deep team like the Clippers. Like with Kawhi there, even amid the investigation, he's going to be locked down. James Harden, you like to call him a foul merchant. I'll call him a great foul salesman, a great contact salesman, because the idea of being a foul merchant, I believe, is just a misnomer. Because if you're on offense, you want to sell the foul, especially when you make contact, or find ways to initiate the contact. It's a strategy. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of flopping, but selling a foul has been a thing since the beginning of the league. You're going to get hit hard, and maybe you're just making up for a non-call earlier in the game. Because you guys, like, they get hit hard, and there's a fair amount of non-calls. So I don't believe in the idea of being a foul merchant. I believe being a foul salesman. So they do it. They do it in baseball when they sell getting hit by a pitcher or getting hit by a pitch, and they do it in football when they get hit hard in a potential non-call, which would have maybe been a pass interference or targeting. So it's a thing in all sports. It's not a foul merchant. It's just a contact salesman, and they're able to sell the contact. And with that, James Harden is one of the best at that. So the Warriors need to come out strong and need to just like come out of the gates fast. And I mean, like, build up a 10 to 12 point lead by the end of the first quarter if they want any real hope of blowing out the Clippers. Because the Clippers, they're here to play. And while they're looking at their record, they're 2-1. They've been beat before. They might be 3-1 after tonight's game. I'm not 100% sure. I think the Warriors will pull it out, but Warriors got to show and prove. I think they can, but it remains to be seen because the Clippers, last two games, they've had the Warriors' number and have been real spoilers for them. Now, bottom line is, this second unit has shown so far, 4 games in, that they are here and they are going to be effective. I do like that for the team, and I think that's going to play long-term for the Dubs. The only issue that I have with it is still their lack of size. I'm looking at this, the playing time from the last game, and looking at this whole stat sheet. Let's see who played. All these guards. You've got Buddy Hield, Gary Payton II, Moses Moody, Will Richard, and Pat Spencer. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5 guards you have running off the bench. You need to move somebody in order for this depth to be balanced out. I don't know who it's going to be, but you need to find somebody to bring in and really just balance out the bench. Because as of right now, they don't really have any, let's say, any front court depth. They have a lot of backcourt depth, but no front court depth. You could argue Trace Jackson Davis or Santos, but they're more tweeners to me, like 3-4s. They're not really like solid 4-5s. And the Warriors need a solid 4-5, or at least multiple ones of them, if they're going to go deep into this playoff run. But as of right now, at least this guard rotation has shown out well, has provided the relief that the starting lineup needs in order to get off to this 3-1 start. Now, that's all we have today for Warriors Latest. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you enjoyed the show today, as it does help the channel and it helps me out personally as the series continues to grow. And if you have any thoughts on who the Warriors should acquire using that depth of backcourt, the depth of backcourt players that they have to acquire an additional player, feel free to comment below, as I love hearing your ideas. And as always, go Dubs.